Are you struggling with pricing for your products and services? You are not alone. Trust me, this is like a common problem that most entrepreneurs and business owners that they go through. It's one of the challenges that we face as business owners. We want to be able to balance. We want to get the right price for our product and services. We don't want to be seen as too expensive, and at the same time, we don't want to underprice, because when you underprice your product and services, you might be losing out, in profit, right? And at the same time, your brand might be seen as, oh, cheap or inferior or not of good quality, right? And if you overvalue, you might miss out in gaining from some, in having your own share of the market, which is what we don't want. As business owners, we want to have our own share of the market. And price is one of the ways that we can actually have our share of the market. And which is why I'll be breaking down 7 pricing strategies that we can use to attract more customers, increase our profits, and also increase the value of our brand as well. But before I go on in explaining these strategies, I want you to watch 2 of my prior videos about understanding costs and break-even points, because you need knowledge of costing, because you need to understand your costings, you need to understand the break-even points before you can actually be able to apply these 7 strategies that I'll be talking about today. I'll be, posting the link up here. Try to watch those 2 videos and you'll be able to, it will help you a lot in understanding this strategy, these 7 pricing strategies I'll be explaining today. Now, back to what we're talking about. For the first pricing strategies I'll be talking about, it's called price to competition. Price to competition, it's all about you basing your price on your competitor's price. You're reacting each time your competitors, if they increase their price, you have to increase your price. If they reduce their price, you have to reduce your price. But there is a problem there. One of the problem is you're not going to be putting into consideration the value of the products that you are selling or the costs, because there might be a situation whereby your competitors might be able to source that particular product cheaper than you. That's the reason they're able to sell cheaper. But because you don't know, but you are using that strategy, you are basing your price based on your competitor. So you might be losing out and you will not know, and at the same time, your own product might have more value than your competitor's products. But because you're using the strategy, you're basing your price on your competitor's price, it disregards the value of your own products. So you're always reacting, you're always following whatever your competitors are doing, which is not what we want as business owners. We want to be number one, we want to be leaders in the industries, we want to be fine. We can compare ourselves with other people. It's normal to have, you analyze our competitors to understand what we are doing wrong. Do you understand? But we don't have to follow them bomber to bomber, like, oh, they're increasing their price, you have to increase our price. They're reducing their price, you have to reduce their price. But there are some products that you have to do it that way. So that means in that kind of situation, you have to make sure you are actually sourcing your own goods as well. Your source as well is of the same costs with your competitors. Because if your competitors can source their own things cheaper and you are sourcing expensive and you're selling at the same price, you're losing out. So you have to make sure that you're able to source the same thing. So that is the only way, because there are some products that are called commodity products that easily your clients can get it from your competitors. Maybe it can actually be the same value, the same thing. You can easily go somewhere else and buy it. That if yours is $10 and your competitor's price is $5, why would they want to buy for $10? They would prefer to go and buy for $5. So it now depends on you to sit down and look if this strategy will work for your product or not. The second strategy is called price to time. It is a kind of like an hourly rate pricing strategy. It is commonly used and it's mostly used by professionals and service providers like consultants, lawyers, doctors. They charge per hour. But there is something I want to ask you today. What if maybe your customers, you have a client and the client wants you to work on a particular project? You charge the client for 8 hours, let's say $50 per hour. At the end of the day, you get paid $400. What if you're able to finish that particular project within 4 hours? Would you be, honest enough to say, oh no, to declare, oh, I didn't spend up to 8 hours, this is your change? That is one of the downside. There is always something called, conflict of interest in the price to time strategy. Well, it's being used, it's a common one. Another downside of this strategy might be the fact that, say you charge per hour, right? And a client that you charge per hour will want to micromanage you. He or she want to make sure that you're spending the time right. If you say you're going to be spending 8 hours a day on a project, you have to spend the 8 hours a day. He or she will want to watch you, manage you, and make sure you're spending that 8 hours. And the third strategy that I'll be talking about is price to positioning. You need to be able to position yourself well in the market. What position are you? You need to be able to understand that, be able to understand the law of demand and supply. Most people that use this type of strategy, they have been able to position themselves very well in the market, that they are the go-to person. Like, you have this problem, you know where to go to. They'll be the next spot, they'll be the people you want to go to. They've been able to position themselves very well in the market, making them to be the go-to person when the problem arises. If you have a particular problem, you know where to go to, you know that, oh, this is the person that can do it, because they were able to position themselves. So now it depends on, have you been able to position yourself well? So to be able to use this type of strategy, you need to be able to position yourself very well. And this strategy as well, you need to understand the law of demand and supply. You should be able to create demand for your product and services, thereby reducing the supply, making your supply scarce. So that way it will increase the value of your products, and people will they will want to pay any amount for it, because there is demand for it. You already created demand for it, and there is scarcity for it, for those demands. And whoever is able to get, that particular product or services, they would want to pay any amount you put on it, because you've created the demand and there is no scarcity. Example of something of this type of product I will talk about will be diamond. Diamond is, there is this demand for diamond, but the supply for diamond is very scarce. So people are ready to pay any amount for diamond, because the value has increased due to the scarcity of supply. So you should be able to understand, the law of demand and supply, how you can create demand for your product and services and make it scarce. So that way it will increase the value, and that way customers will be able to pay whatever price you place on it, because you've, created good value for it. You've been able to position yourself in the market as a go-to person in the market, as a go-to person to solve that problem that, customers may be having. And the fourth pricing strategy that I'll be talking about will be price to pay bills. This is the same thing. That is why I say you need to watch the break-even analysis. This is the same thing as break-even pricing strategy. I think I mentioned it in the video as well. Like, this is you being able to, your price can cover the costs of that particular product. Let's assume you produce a product, or you got a product at, together with the fixed cost, the variable cost, or the total cost of this particular product is let's say $20, and you're selling it for $20. That is price to pay bills. You're only putting the price just to cover the bills. You're not thinking of profits. You're not thinking of the value of the product. You just want to cover your costs. You want to be able to pay your overhead expenses. People that are trying to, test the market, they normally use this strategy to understand what is really going on in the market. All they want is to be able to cover their costs, but they are testing the market. They don't care about the profits. So far, they can get their costs. That is one of a pricing strategy that you can use. If you're trying to test a new market, you don't know what the market is about. You don't know, you want to try and understand, you want to observe, you can use the price to pay bills. So that means in this type of situation, you're not so concerned about the profit. you are trying to test. You want to see the reactions of your customers. You just want to like test the reactions of your customer to know if they would buy the product or if they will pay for your services. You're not after the profit yet. That is price to pay bills, which is the same thing as break-even pricing strategy. If you remember the break-even, when I said the total revenue is equals to total costs, whatever you're selling is equals to the cost, what cost you to actually acquire that product or the service in the first place that you're rendering to people. So that is price to pay bills. The fifth one I'll be talking about is price to cost plus. What is price to cost plus? Price to cost plus is, if you remember, as the name implies, is costs. Again, you need to understand, you need to watch the video costs, understanding costs. So if you understand your cost, if you're able to, let's say your costs is, your total cost is $50. And if you want to use this price to, if you want to use this cost plus pricing strategy, you're just going to add like a markup. Let's say $50 and the markup of 50%. So 50% of $50 will be $25. So you're going to add that $25 to $50, making it $75. So that is price to cost plus. You just want to sell something above your costs. You're going to make profit, because anything above your costs, you're making profit. So it might be little. Sometimes you just have like a fixed markup. Markup is just percentage that you want to sell above your costs. So some people use 50% markup, some people use 100% markup, some people use 200% markup. It depends on the industry that you find yourself. In the manufacturing industry, they cannot use too much, markup. It cannot be too high. In the retail industry, well, you can use, high markup. But for the manufacturers, they cannot use, high markup. The manufacturers will sell to distributors, and distributors will sell to the final consumers. Except the final consumer, maybe your products, you can sell it directly to your customers. That way, you can have high markup. Some people can have like 200%, 300%. It depends on your value, the value of your product, depends on your product itself, and depends on the industry that you find yourself. In this type of pricing strategy as well, there is always conflict of interest. Let me give you an example. Let's assume you are in the construction industry. You have a client, and to get the materials for this particular construction will cost you like $2 million. The cost plus is just you adding, let's say 15% or 10%. Let's say you add 10% to the $2 million, that will be $2.2 million, right? So that is cost plus strategy. But what if the materials, because definitely the client will not be going with you to buy the materials. What if you can actually get the materials cheaper? Maybe for 1.8 or 1.5. We do tell the clients there is always conflict of interest. Anything above your costs is the cost plus pricing strategy. And the fifth pricing strategy is the price to package, which is an interesting one, because it is what most of us, we must have, paid for, and at one point in time, especially these applications. There is no application that you want to pay for now that they don't have the rent packages. They have the free package, they have the premium plus, blah, blah, blah. So for the free, there'll be certain things that the client will be enjoying. And for the premium plus, for the premium, there'll be certain things that'll be higher than the free package. And for the premium plus, there'll be, higher things that will be enjoyed, that the client will be gaining than the premium package. So that is just basically what the premium, what the price to package is all about. Assuming you have this, you have this service that you want to render, like maybe a consultation service, and you are an expert, and you're pricing people for, let's say, $1,000. They are being charged. You charging for $1,000, but the real value. But for this $1,000, you will list out things the client they will be enjoying, or they'll be gaining from the package. But now the real value, you now write, that is a strategy, you now write above it or below it that, okay, for this particular package that is $1,000, the real value is $10,000. I'm sure you must have seen such strategy before. That is price to package. The price you're paying, let's say, is $200, and the real value is $2,000. So in that kind of situation, the client will see that offer as cheap, as something they need to pay. It's like a compelling price. It's a psychological kind of pricing strategy that's being often used by service providers. Like, okay, especially the educational kind of service, like maybe I'm teaching people something, you're coaching or something. Okay, if I'm going to coach you this, or if I'm going to teach you this is what you're going to gain. You're going to earn, you're going to pay $200 for it, and these are what you're going to earn and gain from it. But the value of this package is $2,000. Claim to be paying $200. So it's psychological, definitely the client will want to pay. I've been in such situations, and I'm sure you must have been in such situations. I assume that this package is of good value. It's usually ratio 1 to 10. Let's assume, okay, you want to increase this package from $200 to like $400. That means the value that you're going to give must be higher. You must have added something to it before you can increase the price. It's not be the same thing. You must have added one or two things to it. So that way, you will now say, okay, the price is $400, but the value is $4,000. The value of the package itself is $4,000, but the client will be paying $400. So if it's a service that the customers really want, they would want to pay for it, because you've made them believe that this is the value, but this is what you're going to charge them. And I'm sure a lot of us have been in the same situations. They give us the value and the price we'll be paying. We will think, oh, this is a nice offer, right? You're giving your customers good offer. And the last but not the least is the price to value, which is the one I love the most. You just need to position yourself very well as a go-to person. So that way it will increase your value. That way customers will be ready to pay for whatever price you put on your product or your services. Instead of you pricing hourly or pricing your cost plus and all that. Let's assume you're running a marketing agency company and the customer wants to increase their sales, right? And you ask for their present sales revenue. Maybe it's like $500,000. As an expert, you tell the client that I can move you from $500,000 to $2 million. But instead of adding like a cost plus, adding like a markup to it or charging them hourly, now tell them, okay, if I'm able to move you from $500,000 to $2 million, I want so percentage, like 10% of the $2 million. That is a lot. That is more than you charging them, per hour or something. In that kind of situation, it is a win-win situation for you and your clients. That client to be, oh yeah, there is no client that will not want it, because you are giving them guarantee. But in that situation, you might end up not even spending so much time to move them from $500,000 to $2 million sales revenue. And you will now gain 10% or 15% or 20%, which is a lot more than you charging them per hour. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? You are an expert. As an expert in what you do, you're very confident. You show of yourself that, yes, you can do this job. The client comes to you. They're having problem with their marketing or sales. They want, good marketer. And you offer your service. And you now tell them, you ask for their present sales revenue. You're able to move them from $500,000 to $2 million. And you're not telling them that if you can move them to that, you charge them so percentage. If they can move from 2 million to 5 million, you are charging them another percentage. That is amazing, right? It's really interesting. But in that situation, you must have placed yourself as the go-to person in the industry. You must have positioned yourself as an expert in your field. Because for people to be able to trust you to that level, for you to have a share of their sales revenue, It's a lot. And for you to move from 500,000 to 2 million, it's a lot. And the funny thing is, you might not even be the one to do it. Maybe you just introduce them to someone, or you bring in a third party that will do it. You are making more, and you might not even lift a finger. All you're going to be doing is just get someone that will do it, or employ someone that will do it. That you maybe someone you've worked with, and you're so sure this person can do it, and you just collect. You just keep collecting percentage on the increase of the sales revenue, but you're giving the person, maybe a person will be charging you per hour or something. Can you see that it's really interesting? So in this kind of situation, you're not leaving your client to take all the risk. You are sharing the risk with your client. But at the same time, you're going to be gaining more. But you have to be sure of yourself. You have to be sure of the results. In this situation, it's all about the results. Any client that comes to you, they want results, right? So if you're able to give the results that they want, or even beyond what they want, you should be able to price. You should be able to give, place value on it. Be able to place, give them your offer. I'm sure they will do it. In all of these strategies, like, from the price to positioning, the price to package, the price to time, the price to value, and everything, you can choose more than one. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be just one pricing strategy that you have to work with. You can combine 2 or 3 pricing strategies. For one of my businesses, I combine 2 to 3 strategies. So you can combine the price to value with maybe the price to competition. Look at your competitors. What is the price? But you are able to give more value to your product. Let me give you an example. There was a time I went for a pop-up. When I got to the pop-up, I met another brand selling jackets, but they were not selling reversible. I was selling mine for 2,500 pesos. And the other brand was selling his own for 1,250, 1,400 pesos. Why do you think I was able to sell mine as well? He had his customers, I had my customers. The only thing that made mine to be different was the reversible. I was able to add more value. I was able to be able to sell it for $2,500. I was able to sell it for 2,500 pesos, even though it's the same jacket. But I added another value to it. I didn't make it just plain jacket. So it's different. So customers didn't mind to pay 2,500 instead of paying 1,400, because they look at it as 2 jackets for 1. So in that kind of situation, it was not just price to value alone that I used. I used price to value. I used price to competitor as well, because I looked at my competitors. What are they selling their jackets? Okay, people that are selling reversible jackets, how much are they selling it? Okay, if they're selling it this price, what can I add to my own product to make a difference? Okay, people that are not selling reversible, how much are they selling it? If I want to sell mine more expensive, what do I need to do? I needed to add more value, and I sell. Because I was able to add more value to the jacket, not just making it plain jackets, making it reversible, I was able to sell. So, and it has been one of my best sellers so far. The fabric that I use as well is different. So those are the little things, those values, those are the things customers want to pay for. So you can combine more than 2, more than 3 strategies together to arrive at the right price for your product or services. There are no wrong or right, strategy. You want to pick one, that depends on you, depends on your industry. You need to understand your industry before you come up with your strategy. I hope I've been able to help you today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Kindly subscribe to our Tenacity Zone with Bukola.